have a look at what files are there. There's a lot to read through if you're going to read through them all as you go. So don't push yourself, just do it at your own pace and cut and paste the ones that you feel handy and keep it your own repository of useful bits and pieces. And they'll grow as you do it. Yeah. And get in there. Don't, this bullshit about waiting to be qualified doesn't gel. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. You're qualified. And your clients will qualify you. You know, when I first started doing breath work and teaching it, rebirthing breath work, 40 years ago, that's what they said. They said your clients will qualify you. They'll show you where you need to find things and adjust and whatever.
Yeah. So it's one thing my wife says, you're not qualified to do this stuff. And I'm saying, but I'm not pretending to be qualified to anything. All I'm doing is sharing my experience.
Yep.
And when we really get stuck, all we have to do is say, look, look and tell me.
Yeah. And you've got resources here. We're all willing to help, every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you will pay it forward too at the time. Yeah.
Thank you, Vince, for your time. By the way, reminder, Vince is paying for the Zoom group. If you want to contribute money to support having Zoom available, Vince, what do you use PayPal? Is that what you were using?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
It's a
I
volunteer.
will do. Yeah,
Thank you.
Thumbs up.
No worries. Yeah. I'd invite you to stay for the next session too. Oh, she's gone already. That was quick. Yeah. Oh no, there you are up the top. Zoom kind of pops everybody into a different position all the time, and you've got to find them where they are on this. Yeah.
Vince, your car looks different.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got nobody in down here at the moment, so I'm using it. Yeah. In fact, we're about to finish Airbnb. It's way too much work, so and we're going to rent it out permanently to somebody. So in a couple of weeks, I won't have use of this either. I'll be back in the car. Yeah. Yeah. I'm almost inclined to say you're a new face, Richard, but you're not. I have seen you before, haven't I?
Yeah, I've been there once, I think.
Yeah.
And I logged in earlier today. So
yeah, of course. Yeah. 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 So remind me, Richard, where are you up to on this so-called journey? You're muted.
where am I at?
Yeah. Have you seen
wow.
the illusion of self yet? Have you recognized the delusion of self as an illusion?
I'm in and out of it. I have
So yes, you've
experienced
seen it, but you've got some doubts that come along from time to time.
Yeah. I have glimpses. I want it to be more around than not.
Right.
But I feel like I'm progressing.
So things are changing. You're recognizing a bit of an evolution or a change that's happening when you say you feel like things are happening?
Yeah. I've had moments, even moments of just recently, I did a ketamine trip and kind of experienced non-duality for a short time, which was quite revealing, but that's that with drugs, it's a momentary thing.
Sure, but it shows you something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you get the idea that you should be able to be there without drugs permanently?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what I expect, I'm expect, that's not the right word, but that's,
I get you. Yeah, I get you. Yeah. It's a bullshit expectation, mind you, but I get
yeah,
what you're saying. Yeah,
it's hard to resign yourself to letting be what is.
that's right. Yeah, because if in the early days, particularly the bad stuff, it seems like it shouldn't be there. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the stuff that you have to accept. I'm trying to anyway.
Yep. Well, you will reach a stage where it won't be something that you'll have to accept. It'll actually be something that you'll welcome when it turns up, because it gives you something to work with.
Yeah, exactly.
So that bad stuff is never going to stop. But what will stop is you seeing it as bad stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I conceptually I understand a lot, but that doesn't help it really in some ways.
Well, we tend to draw this distinction between a conceptual or an intellectual understanding and our experience, but they're not two separate things. So if you get it conceptually, got it. But
Yeah.
the likely reality is that you've also got something else going on, which is the doubt thing, and that's also very likely got to do with your expectations. And of course, what underpins all of those is beliefs, the things that you believe.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm working on right now. I mean, I'm trying to find the beliefs and realize that they're bullshit, and just
Yep. So a good starting place, that sounds a little bit gross, but it is a good starting place, is that no thoughts can be believed. All thoughts are bullshit. Every single one you have.
yeah. I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to go there.
But because we say they're all bullshit, doesn't mean we're going to ever stop having them. What will happen is that we'll start to see them for what they actually are, which are just thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay, can I have a question?
Of course, don't ask, just do it. Jump
I
in.
know, but I'm from the South. We ask first, but that's a belief.
Okay.
Anyway, this morning, kind of a weird thing happened. I don't even know what to call it. Or anyway, I was watching a YouTube video about consciousness, and consciousness in my mind. What is consciousness? I have no idea what consciousness is. Okay, so anyway, so I was taking a shower, and it's really cold right now. We're not used to being cold, and I had this great hot water flowing on me, and all of a sudden I thought, this is it. This is like life living. I mean, like the water, the faucet, the walls, the enjoyment. It was just life presenting itself, kind of like. And then I thought, is this what consciousness is? Just life living? So I don't know. Give me some feedback, because it was such a weird feeling, but it felt right.
Yeah. So I see what happened straight away. Yeah, you had a realization. Well, that's not quite the right word, is it? You had a discovery, right? But I mean, but the labels that we put on it, like discovery, don't do justice to it. Yeah, I mean, I was nodding and I go, wow, yeah, you saw it, you saw it, you saw it, you saw it. Yes, yes, yes. And then what happened? You ran away. You started to think about consciousness. Nobody knows what consciousness is. Anybody that says they know what consciousness is playing with themselves. The idea of consciousness, what did that do? That stopped you from being in that moment.
Mm.
Yeah,
The ideas, the thoughts came back again. You were there you were beneath the level of thoughts. There you were with this body yes. Oh, this expansion, this body yes of, wow, look at that. Oh, I had not even any words you could say about it. And then you get, oh, wonder if that's consciousness. you killed it pretty quickly, didn't you?
I did, but that's okay.
Yeah, of course it's okay. Yeah, of course that's what happened. Yeah. Yeah. So what our thoughts are going to do every single time is distract us from this. What is.
Right.
Right. And even saying this and what is, it doesn't do it justice. But what's going to happen is we're going to start thinking about it. We're back in the concept land. Anything that comes up that is about something is a way of not experiencing that something. It's a way of avoiding it. It's a distraction.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, whatever.
Yeah. It makes sense in a more literal sense of the word sense rather than it's but we talk about it like it's logically acceptable, but really what we're talking about is a body yes thing again, making sense. It feels right.
Because
Yeah.
in the moment, it was just perfect. It was just perfect.
Now
It was like,
the issue now is for you to, how do you relate to wanting it to come back? If you go, yeah, that was it. I want it again. I want it more. I want, come back, please come back. Don't run away. So, and that also is a distraction from it. Wanting it to come back is focusing on the future, isn't it?
right.
Mm. So not having it is also it.
Right. Because it's just this.
Yeah, it's not as wonderful and pleasant as that moment that you had, but it's still it.
It's it.
Yeah.
That makes, yeah. Okay. Well, I'm glad I said something because it was like, I was trying to figure it out. Of course, that's in the brain. The mind was trying to figure it out. And I
Yeah.
kind of felt like, oh, maybe this is, that, I don't know what I was thinking, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
So,
As Pernilla says, sorry,
go on.
I was going to say, as Pernilla says, even having a root canal, even at the dentist when you have a root canal,
Yep.
I mean, sorry, I just thought I'd bring that in.
Yeah.
But you carry on.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's a hard one to accept. And maybe we don't, it's not acceptance that we need to chase with it, but rather to discover that it's true, that it doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter, root canal or wonderful feelings in the shower, it's all this. And even when we get seduced by the ideas, and they are pretty seductive, we go, oh, maybe this is consciousness. Oh, and you get that feeling like I'm on the verge of understanding something about consciousness. And that's where the seduction of it is. That's still it. No matter what happens, it's it. It's this.
Yeah, because I never understand when people talk about, when the word consciousness comes out, I'm always like, I don't get it. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know what people are talking about.
Right. To my way of thinking, consciousness is a different religion. And that's what it is. It's a religion, no different to Catholics or whatever, you know.
Well, that's good. Okay.
Yeah. But so is all thinking. All thinking is its own religion.
Mm.
Why are you shaking your head, Yvonne?
Oh no, I was just, I'm agreeing, but I was just thinking about thinking, oh God, yeah. Because I find myself, suddenly I have a problem of one of my children, which are obviously very grown up. And I'm drawn in. And then I think about all the problems around this particular problem and how can I help? And it won't stop. The thoughts, they're just, I'm right in there. And I start to feel really not good. And then that not feeling good reminds me that this is not going to solve anything. And I just about managed to let it go. But
So is at that point when you realize that you're lost in thought? Or does it happen sooner than that?
it's beginning to happen sooner than that.
Yeah.
It's, a lot of the time now I'm drawn in and then I begin to realize. But it can be, it's difficult.
Yeah.
As a mother, it's,
Yeah.
you want to solve things, you want
Yes,
to fix
right.
things.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Can you see that? Can you see that what that is that we use the label identification.
yes,
I am a mother and my job is to fix things for my kids.
yeah,
That's
but
identification.
it is. And that's difficult to become de-identified as a mother because the heart,
Okay, so
it hurts.
don't try to disidentify, de-identify. Don't try to do that. Simply recognize what is happening. If you recognize that that's what's going on, that's all it
Yeah.
takes. As soon as you try
Yeah.
not to do it, you just make it stronger.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you get the idea that a lot of this is just about relaxing into letting go of, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. I hope so. Yeah.
Hmm.
You're a father, so you just mentioned your daughter. I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe, oh, I can relax, but then I still feel needed and having to help.
Yep. And is that interesting?
Yeah. Interesting.
See, we have this underlying idea that things need to be a certain way
Yes.
for us to be happy or to be awake or to be
Yeah.
whatever. And almost always that certain way is different to the way it is.
Yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, within this person here, I feel far more okay with everything. And then I see one of my children having dreadful times with a problem, and I can't share this because they're somewhere else. They're in other way.
Absolutely.
I mean, sometimes
we get that. Yeah.
I try to explain things, but I can't because
Because, yeah.
they find their own way through, and I don't know how I came to this. I don't know how I came to this.
Right.
Um,
And they may never get to this. They may never. You'll never be able to help them stop suffering.
but that hurts because to see others suffering, I feel the pain.
Right.
And
But their suffering isn't what hurts. What is it? What do you think it is that hurts? What do you think is it that causes your suffering about that? It's the story you've got that says it should be different. That's where your suffering is. And that seems paradoxical because that means you've got to accept them suffering.
Suffering. Yeah.
And
that's difficult.
Yeah.
That's so it just hurts. Yeah.
I'm going to jump in here because I am a mom and have a similar situation. And I've been like in a really good place for a long time, except when it comes to my son. And I used to say, people say, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm great. But that Achilles heel, my Alex, he just, when the phone rings and I see it's him, I'm like, oh God, you know. So anyway, so over the last and he's in a bad spot. I mean, you know, fortunately he's working right now, but certainly nothing that I would think is a good place for him. He's married. They're a mess. They're a mess. So over the last 6 months, I've finally gotten 99% of the place where I've had to, you know, and it was like, but I'm a mom, and my friends are like, but you're the mom, and everybody's like, you're the mom. You're supposed to care. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to do that. But all it was doing was giving me angina. I mean, because they're going to do their own life, you know. And so finally I read somewhere, you know, that as much as you want a cat to bark or a dog to meow, it's not going to happen, you know. And that just sunk in my head so real like. And it's like, I can love him and love her, and I have to just know that they're on their journey and I'm on my journey. And who's to say that they're doing this wrong? In my opinion, it's 100% wrong, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion, you know. And so I've really had to look deep down inside and accept that they're on their little journey. And I mean, they're adults, you know, and I'm on my journey, and that's what this life is all about. Just we're on our journeys, and I can no longer say that he's doing it wrong. Here he's doing it wrong. Oh, he's so doing it wrong, you know. But here I finally had to come to the awareness, or the I don't know what it is, that whatever happens, it's his journey. It's not mine. There's nothing in the world that I can do about it. So for me to suffer is self-induced. So fortunately, that's kind of where I am now. And the longer it goes, the better it gets, because, you know, we're conditioned as moms. Well, you're the mom, you know, and they'll even, my son will even say, well, Mom, you're the mom. It's like, yeah, I gave you birth, but, you know, that was 37 years ago. You know, it's like, it's very, very hard. But just think about the cat barking and the dog meowing. They're not going to change. They're going to do whatever they are. And 10 years from now, if they're, whatever happens, you can be like, wow, I didn't see that coming. Of course you don't see that coming. We have no idea what's coming. What's going to happen tomorrow, we have no idea, you know. So I don't know if this helps, but it certainly helped me, because Alex has always been my Achilles heel. Fortunately, I only have one. But You know, it
Fortunately,
is
you said?
there.
Yeah.
What's that?
What did you say? Fortunately, you only have one.
I
you
only
said?
have one child. Yeah. So I only
Yeah.
had that one to deal with. But it hurts.
I've got
And
three.
society doesn't help because they keep telling you, well, you're the mom. You're the mom. Even the kids say, you're the mom. That's baloney. Yes, you gave them birth. Yes, you love them. But
it's some of the
they're their own
strongest
people.
conditioning for sure. Yeah, yeah. And it may well be, we don't know, but it may well be that really what this is about is your relationship with your parents. We don't know. Huh?
Mm.
But what we do know is that when this stuff comes up, you feel bad. And when, and
Yeah.
go on, go
No,
on.
I would say the feeling is compassion. I mean, yes, I feel bad, but I mean, it's, compassion is a kind of movement that goes out of one.
Yes, yes, yes. But it can also be painful, or it can be sweet compassion. It can be a variety of things. So, behind
And
that compassion, what gets left with that wanting to go out and help is that pulling from you, that pulling out from you. So at a practical level, the appropriate thing to look at is, what is it you are feeling? And then we can break down the feeling into sensations and stories. So if you get into what are the stories, well, that's a bit hard to start with because we tend to avoid them a little bit. Head for the sensations. Look at what the sensations are that you're experiencing when it comes up. Don't think about it. Get into the sensation. What is it? Where is this sensation in the body?
I think that's what I need to do more of. Yes,
Absolutely.
I do it, but I need to do it more often.
Yeah. Well, you can say I need to do it like that's a job, or
Yeah,
you can just recognize that
I
it's
could.
good if it happens more, and
Mm.
and it will happen. Sometimes it'll take longer for it to happen. Sometimes
Yeah.
it'll be after you've come out of it a little bit before it actually happens. But whenever it happens, if you just get into those sensations, you've got that's the best chance to change it. But you're never going to change them, right? Meeting them where they are is a great idea. Meeting them when they are. Often they're calling on you to fix something, but the best you can offer is understanding, not a judgment, not an opinion, just understanding. That can be.
Yes, I must just say, this particular son is not calling on me to fix it, but he calls on me and I know he needs help, and he doesn't really ask, but I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think also the compassion, I have to bring it back here too.
Yes, you need the compassion for yourself. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But the thing is, trying to do something, whether you're trying to do something for him, whether you're trying to do something for yourself, all of that is a diversion away from what's actually going on.
Yes.
Right? And if we can develop new habits, kind of thing, by repetition. And if you get to the stage where you can say to yourself, where the thought arises that this is happening, and I need that to trigger a change in focus back to my sensations, then it will start happening sooner and sooner and sooner. Or like as you say, it is already happening a bit sooner and sooner. And the consequences of that, that things will change. Yeah.
Yeah.
have you been able to separate the sensations from the stories that go along with it? Have you been able to see that the two as different, as separate?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they are separate.
Yes, they are. Yeah, yeah, sure. Great. That's good. Yeah. So just head for the sensation and ignore the stories. Well, I mean, I say that, but that's not really what's going to happen. But the stories will
Yeah.
become obvious. And actually, the moment that the stories do become obvious, it's likely that you'll see the joke of them. You'll have a
Yeah.
spontaneous laugh because they're often absolutely ridiculous, some of those stories. But they're still strong, even though they might be ridiculous.
They are strong. I had a thought the other day. I was walking through London town the other day and yesterday, and so many people around, and they were all talking, and they were all in their stories. And I wanted to say, you're just in your stories. And I had this thought, well, what if the world lost all its stories? I mean, we'd be in a completely different place, but we're not likely to do that anytime soon, are we?
Now, did you see that was your story? That
Yeah,
their stories?
yeah, yeah. But it's just, I wanted to say, stop, you're in a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I sometimes say to one of my sons, well, you know, it's quite different when the me drops out of you, you know, there's, and there's no one here. There's no problems. And yeah, mom, yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to get that. You're just a weirdo. Yeah, that's right. They're never going to get that because they're not a seeker.
No.
This is something I had a conversation with my daughter recently, and I actually said to her, because I was in myself, I was in my story, and that was that she is so full of her stories that there's no room for any other stories. And that was my story.
Oh.
Amazing.
Strangely enough, one of my sons is trying to call me, but I'm not going to answer. And you seem to have gone quite small, the picture of you, but how funny.
Mm.
That was strange.
What about the parent-child thing? One thing, my son actually has, read Sam Harris and has had lots of non-duality things, and he's really into it too. But also, and you'd think maybe like that kind of helps or something, but it doesn't, because with me, it's like they still want you to be mom, right? Like occasionally we'll have just sort of spontaneous conversations about it. Like we'll both kind of see the same thing and it'll be like a conversation about it. And it's interesting. And then just as quickly it can go back to, mom, can you take care of my dog? And, like we have kind of a relationship maybe similar to what was described earlier, that's been a little trying at times. And you're in those roles and it's easy to fall back. But I will say about the feeling thing, what I realized the most is just, it's just such a feeling of helplessness, right? Like I said, my son's got his own and he's dealing with his own stuff. And yeah, you want to run and fix him. And the most is the helplessness. But we all know, like, I realize in the moments when I'm trying to fix him, like that's when the relationship is the hardest, right? When he shows up and I can tell he's down, or like you can just feel it, right? Like he has PTSD and suffers a bit. And it's like the mom, the role wants to go, oh, it's going to be okay. And let me make this for you. And let me do this. And the last time he just said to me, I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, nothing. He's like, I just have a personality that's sometimes depressed. It's what's happening right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like he doesn't want me to do anything. Like it's much nicer if I just give him a cup of tea or pat him on the back and say, rub his shoulder for 2 minutes and say, yeah, I'll pick up the dog for you, or whatever. And I stop trying to fix him, right? It's just like, it's okay to be depressed. He doesn't have to show up happy at my door all the time or well adjusted.
Mm, mm.
And
Yeah,
that's been like the
when,
biggest
when he shows
relief.
up unhappy, that makes us unhappy. And then we
Yeah.
do to try and avoid that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I found it's been much better. We have a much better time together whenever it's however we're showing up that day is just
Yeah.
how it is, and nobody needs to fix anything, and maybe we just don't say much that day, and that's fine.
Yeah.
So we have to have more.
And
to fall
Pernilla
away.
did say, someone said something about Pernilla, and I'll say, if you heard
Yep.
her talk,
Yes, I listen to her often. Yes.
and she said, you cannot know what's best for them.
No,
Mhm.
you cannot. No.
Yeah, and with the sort of off the hook of you can't know what's best. I don't know, for me, it's like the best thing.
Well, my sons think they know what's best for me, though. And that's really tricky.
Mm.
They want to try and fix me. They can't understand that I don't need to go anywhere, do anything, or I mean, you know, a lot of my ambition has fallen away. I will get back to doing my artwork, but no, I can't at the moment. But I don't have the need to do that anymore. So a lot of things have fallen away, and people think you should, you know, meet more people and go more places, and I don't feel the need to.
You can see how it's a kind of a fundamental part of our society. The interactions we have often rest on problem solving.
Yeah.
To the point where sometimes we create a problem in order to solve it.
Yeah. I hope I'm not talking too much, but I was reading Angelo's book, and I'd read quite into it. And there was, I don't know what it was. There's some parts of that book that kind of, you get touched by something and it activates something. And while I was meditating after reading it, I felt an expansion. And then I started to cry, and then I started to laugh, and I couldn't stop laughing. And my mind came and said, "Oh, what about your problems? Oh, I think I saw there were no problems." And then my mind came along and said, "Oh, but what about this problem?" And I kind of looked at the problem, and it made me fall about laughing. And then my mind sort of went, but what about the big problem? What about this problem? And I looked at that problem, and I couldn't stop laughing at it. And I was laughing so much that I fell off my chair, and it was a big chair, and it fell on top of me. And then this is another son called me, said, "Coming down come to eat with us, Mum." And I couldn't stop laughing, and there was this big chair on top of me, and I just couldn't stop laughing. I managed to get out of the chair and downstairs, and then I sat down. But everything anybody said about anything, it made me laugh. And they said, "Oh, Granny's been taking something." And then I spoke to a friend on the phone, and they started telling me their problems, and I couldn't stop laughing. And I said, "I'm not laughing at you, I'm just laughing at your problems." And that didn't help. And then I became very aware that I like this. I really like this. What's happened? But as soon as I realized that I really liked being like this, it was so light and there were no problems. I only saw potential. And then as soon as I became aware of that, it started to change somewhat. And then in the morning, I woke up with problems. So I share that.
Yeah. Yeah, I frequently burst out laughing inappropriately in social situations.
Oh.
or anger comes up, or all sorts of things happen, you know, it's just spontaneous. Yeah, you'll get over worrying about it. Let them think you're a weirdo. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm beginning to let that happen, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
That reminds
Anyway,
me of the inquiry. I think I first heard of it from Locke Kelly, and it really had an impact on me. It was what's here now when there's no problem to solve. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks, because I was like, oh shit, like you can actually experience not having to work on a problem. And it made me realize that, like you were saying, Vince, my whole life was constantly trying to fix whatever felt like the most necessary problem to solve in the moment. And if there wasn't one, I would find one. And it totally flipped it on its head for me.
yeah.
Yeah. And you may well experience not having any problems as a problem.
Whoa. No, how can that be?
It's a problem for our ego. And what is it going to do if it?
Yeah, who was it was coming in saying, oh, what about that problem? What about the big problem? I mean, was that ego coming in? I mean, or I don't know. I don't know who's what or where.
Yeah, yeah. Got to be a bit careful about using the concept of ego. It
Yeah.
means so many different things for people, but yeah.
Just thoughts.
Yep.
Mm.
Whatever is happening.
Well, we should all go to this. We should all go to the same dinner party.
Yeah. We'd all either be laughing or not talking.
It is funny.
Mm. And I look around and I see some serious faces. Andre's got a very serious look on his face. He's still got problems that need to be fixed.
No, it's yes. But I mean, what's the point? Even if I tell you there's a problem. No, I wonder why I say no at the end of the sentence. I'm listening to and I'm like, something, I don't know, just like this, something happened, like this group has changed, or is it me, or is it like I cannot relate to I don't feel like a mix. I don't feel like part of whatever is happening here now. And I can't really know why. Like I don't. I have a sort of feeble idea that I want people to, really talk about. Like I want myself to be 100% sincere in a way that I want to talk about the thing that is the most relevant right now for me. In Gestalt, they call it the figure, right? Something which is not the background, but the foreground, the point of tension, the problem, the issue, the emotion, the whatever it is that creates this. It's like a tension in space, which if I look at or if I see through it or see it, it then sort of dissolves into relaxation, and then I can be open to I just, to whatever life is offering. But I have a feeling that sometimes life sort of highlights or put a spotlight on, okay, this is what you have to look at right now. And I will start talking about, this and that, but I will avoid looking at whatever it is here, which is like the most difficult thing for me right now. And I wish I had the skill to be able to identify that every moment of existence, and then at some point, like you call it juice, I think, and then maybe I would just run out of juice at some point. Maybe not, I don't know. But for me, I have this theory that when people do that, when people avoid looking at these mm, I don't know, energies or ideas or problems or issues, they avoid life, and so when I do that, I avoid life. So for me, I want, like, I have this, I think it's also part of my which sort of utopia thing, is like I want everyone to be able to, you know see through whatever it is there for them right now, and then we can all enjoy the the company of each other, and then I can be so much full of love, and I can share this love, and I can accept love. But unless I deal with this, I will just be focused on this. I'll be talking about other things, but I will not be able to fully open to the group or to the to life that is flowing through these people into me. Maybe this is not very sort of enlightenment related, but it's more relational. Yeah, and I get angry because I cannot do it, and I get angry when I think or feel or I have an idea that people do it as well, when they avoid the most important thing for them right now in the moment, by just deflexing, by going into and yeah, so kind of hard to breathe now. I don't know why.
So you think this morning that what's changed is that we are making light of problems? Is that
No, I
accurate?
think we're avoiding something. I don't know. It's my
Okay.
kind of,
All right,
like,
so be
we have
super
become
direct. I want you to be
we-
really, really direct here. What are we avoiding? We're avoiding the seriousness of your problem.
Oh no. Well, no, it's not about that's the problem, because I don't think it's no. I think you're the group has become formal. I don't know. That's my kind of, and maybe that's just me
Yeah,
projecting stuff
tell us more about that. Tell us more about that. It'll get clearer as you talk. The group has become formal, did you say?
yeah.
Okay, tell us about that. What do you mean by formal? You don't have to be right. Just say what comes out of your mouth. Just open your mouth. Yeah.
Well, I think that there's a there I I think there's like there's maybe there's pain that people are what that is being avoided, or that something which is unpleasant to feel right now, and maybe it's just me avoiding my unpleasant stuff, but something which is unpleasant and maybe pain, maybe ugly truth, maybe something something which feels like it's ugly in a way,
Yeah.
and it's not socially, it's not nice. I don't want to touch, I don't want to look at it, and then I just want to.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's, I mean, I don't know.
So did you think that Yvonne was avoiding pain? Or who in the group, was somebody specific was avoiding some pain there, making light of it?
I don't want to make such loud statements, but
Well,
maybe,
well,
I don't know.
you can say it here,
Yeah.
you know, we don't have the social rules here that exist outside. You can say,
Well, I think so. Well, yeah, maybe. But it's not to make Yvonne feel bad, but maybe it's the kind of feeling that I got when Yvonne, you were talking. And I don't know, maybe it's just my thing, and maybe it has nothing to do with you at all.
don't worry about that. Yeah, so you thought that she was avoiding something that was apparent to you that was there, and she was avoiding it. She's not going to be upset or hurt if you tell her that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not at all.
Tell her, confront her. I
Oh.
want you to confront her about it. You're as much a guide here as everybody else. You know, what you think and feel is of no value if you keep it to yourself. Let's get it out there. People will benefit from you getting it out there. You most of all. Because when you're talking about Yvonne, you're really talking about yourself. You know that.
Well, yeah, then that's why would I want to talk to Yvonne about myself, right?
Because
Talk to her about her, and we'll know that it's you. You're talking about you. But talk to her about her. You know, Yvonne, you're avoiding something that's really important here.
No,
I don't mind looking at it all. I open, whatever.
Yep.
I like it.
like, yeah, but I almost can hear myself saying, like, why the fuck do you think your opinion matters? Why do you want to share it? Like, why, you know, why the, because like, I think there's,
Is it an opinion? Am I coming out with an opinion?
no, this is my opinion about you, right? That's me sort of
Oh.
reverse tracking, reverse looking at myself through your eyes with my own eyes. But I just want, because when you spoke, I felt like I just wanted you to be, maybe it's just my relationship with women,
don't worry
mothers,
about
whatever.
that. Okay? Tell her what
I just wanted you to be real. Like, I just wanted you to
be
just,
real.
just say what you feel, just say what you think, not like,
Don't
not
respond,
be,
Yvonne. Just listen. Yeah.
Yes,
not,
I'm no.
not like, you don't like, it almost seemed like the words of you pick the words really carefully and sort of shove yourself away, like you're like you hide yourself for the benefit of seeming something like someone else, someone
Could be. There is some. There could be some. Yeah.
it's not an accusation, it's just my sort of perception.
No,
I just wanted you to fucking go raw, like, to like, just what is, like, what is it that you feel in this moment? Like, I'm not expecting you to be a perfect mother. I'm not expecting you to be non-perfect mother. I'm not expecting, like, I just want to know what you are in that moment. Like, what is this, like, what's your thing? Show it to me, like, act it out, like, maybe call me an asshole, whatever. Just be real. That's my kind of,
Now, Yvonne, what he's saying is probably got some truth for you, but really,
Yes.
but it's not your place to respond right now, because what he's telling us is about himself. He wants himself to be real.
To be real. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah. So be real. Yvonne,
No.
you're a wimp, Yvonne. You're hiding from yourself, Yvonne.
Yeah,
Remember,
it could.
he's talking about himself. He's not talking about you, but just, yeah. But that's how he gets to say about himself, by pointing it at you.
But can I say something? I
No,
have been.
don't say
Oh,
anything. No,
okay.
we're working on Andre now, not you.
My heart is like it's what the trepidation. It's missing beats right now.
It's a lot easier to say it about Yvonne than it is to say it about yourself. I understand.
Well, that's the problem. I don't see it about myself as much. It's not so obvious. If it were, I would just, I would just say it. Or if someone said about me, then because it's like I'm trying to see my own eyes with my own eyes, and I just, it seems life is okay, and I just don't see my own flaws or I don't see myself deceiving myself, like, and maybe I'm trying to find others who can shake the mirror for me, and and what I did to Yvonne maybe was just a way to provoke her as well. Like, it's not so much about it. It doesn't really matter what happens with this information, whether it's not so much about what I say, it's so much like what I'm trying to get out of what I'm saying, or
yeah. So let's not talk about it. Show us what it is you're trying to get out of you. I feel there's an explosion in you that you're not going to let happen. What is that?
No, but last time you spoke about like having the suffering under the suffering, and I forgot, like, I wasn't, I mean, I was suffering, but it wasn't as vivid. I mean, I suffered the usual way, right? But it wasn't like, it seemed to me this week my awakening stopped, or whatever. This whole process of realization stopped today, and I just felt like that there's a huge magnet, and it just pulls me down and into things to do, money to make, I don't know, just
into the mundane stuff.
Yeah, the mundane stuff, and
to keep you away from the important stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, and I cannot get on the realization spacecraft and fly away, and
yeah.
because I have, and then I think for me, find a way to maybe I use emotions or feelings as a way to sort of shake off the grayness, the mundane way of life for me, because I don't want to, because there's and then also I look at everyone who's doing the same, and I want to shake that off them too, and so we're all just go crazy, and
yeah. We're all avoiders. Yeah.
Mm.
I'd like somebody else to help me here. Who's got a big stick they can poke at Andre's bear?
Hello, Andre.
Hello, James. You can have it back.
You picked on the wrong person. It's not Yvonne, it's me. I'm hiding loads of shit. Seriously. Yeah. There's loads of stuff I do not want to say in front of this group. Yeah. I would be embarrassed, uncomfortable, probably go to prison. Seriously. There's lots of stuff I am not going to say here. I don't know what you want to do about that, but you were right. What you were saying was 100% right about me. I don't know about anybody else in the group. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, but it was something in me that brought it out. There was something about the way I act that brought it out.
So what were those tears about, Andre?
No, what James said, just I think something in me relaxed a little bit. Um, and it's something sort of something went towards James from me, almost like like a hug or something, and then I just because yeah, it's a I
He
just want to
echoed
be with
something
what
for you?
with was that
Did he
no
echo something for you? There was a connection of some kind.
yeah, there's a connection, and it feels like he's like he's real, like James is real. He's not made of
But he didn't reveal anything. He only spoke about it. He didn't reveal a thing.
no
So he wasn't really real. He just pretended to be real.
really. Okay. Can I have my money back, James? What? Oh, you fooled me then. No, but
He was
really,
feeling real, but yeah, that's
am I
just
that naive? Okay. Well, I mean, I almost said something rude to James.
yeah. You can, well, say it. You're allowed to.
No, I was just like, oh, fuck you, James. But then, no, but I'm saying fuck you, James, because Vince convinced me James was not real. James, were you real?
He was. Yeah.
Fuck you, Vince.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, fuck you, Vince.
Yeah.
No, right, Andre. Okay. The trouble is, these are all stories, right? From my perspective, I'm going to tell you something that I believe is 100% real. Yeah. Okay. But it's still a story, right? So there was a time in my life when my daughter's recovered from being a drug addict. Okay. And there was a time when she was 14 years old. It still haunts me to this day. This was what, 20 years ago now, where she was grounded because she'd been taking drugs. And she's up on the second floor of our house and she's trying to climb out of the window to go and get some more drugs. Okay. So I go up there because I hear this happening and I drag her back in out the window and she's screaming and shouting. Yeah. What am I going to do? I can't hit her. So I take her in the bathroom, put her in the bath and sit on her. Okay. And she's screaming and shouting and I'm just sitting on her because I'm a bit bigger than her. Yeah. And to this day, she still hates me for that. Right. Okay. I don't know what else I could have done. That's real. There you go. That's one of the things I didn't want to tell anybody. There you go. And I feel like crying now as well.
I'll do it for you, James. Yeah, this is big. I don't know. Not so much the story, but the feeling beneath it is fucking huge. Like it's wickedly beautiful, but it's intense, yeah, and it's real. It's just
Hi, can
thank you, James.
I just say hi?
Hi, Helen.
Hi, can I? Yeah, hi. I've just been with my sister for 2 weeks, whose son has committed suicide last year from a drug overdose. It was just simply awful. It was ketamine and a mixture of drugs. We didn't know whether it was overdose or whether it was suicide.
But what I need to say is, it's only my story, and the realness. I understand what you're saying, but it's only real to the person who's saying it, because. But what I'd like to know is, what is it about mundanity, and speaking about something powerful? There's a sort of there's a difference there. There's something powerful against something that's mundane. I don't know. To be honest, I used to feel like that. I felt that everything had to be coarse truth, had to be full of sharp edges, real extremes, and anything that wasn't was mundane. And I couldn't deal with that particularly much. I disliked it because why? Because I wanted to be different, to be honest. I wanted to feel different, that I was aggravatingly truthful. And mundanity frightened me. Being mundane, boring, every day. But I don't know if that means anything.
Thank you, Helen. Maybe, and this is something, Vince, maybe, or someone, guys, how you see it, that's a question to you. Is it me? Because what just happened when James spoke and Helen spoke, I felt something, right? I felt, well, from a body perspective, I had tears, and I did feel a strong surge of something inside of me. Is this, and then Helen, you're saying these are stories, right? And there's like, I'm saying, am I fooling myself? Am I responding with an emotional story or a mental story? But the emotional story is stronger than a mental story, stronger in a way that it's more intense, and then it has the edge or whatever. Or there are words and stories, and under them there's something which is more real than thoughts, and these are feelings or emotions which are, but maybe they are not real in the way that they are. Maybe I'm not feeling a layer. Maybe I'm creating a layer to feel a layer, and it's a question. Maybe I'm just fooling myself. Maybe I'm just avoiding something, and running away from certain reality to which I don't see, because I'm blind in a way, and turn towards a different type of reality, which is more emotion based, more feelings based. And
I think it's all avoidance. Absolutely, all avoidance. Yeah. So you can allow yourself to feel emotion with Helen and with James. That's a way of not feeling your own emotion. So yeah, this is just my story, my opinion. I don't know how accurate it is, but it seems to me like that's what's going on. And you're talking about it, but you're talking about it. You're not experiencing it. You're avoiding it.
I agree. I think for me, I used to be able to experience other people's pain and emotions, but I was avoiding my own. It was easy. It was easier for me to feel other people's pain than my own, because I wasn't looking at it. Looking at my own pain was much harder.
Absolutely.
But I actually enjoyed other people's pain in a way, because I enjoyed crying for other people because I couldn't cry for myself.
Is that what's happening for you, Andre?
I don't know, but I don't like what I'm hearing. It's maybe I built this. Oh shit! Because I thought these are. There's no. I used to think that there's. Well, I used to think yes, these are other people's emotions, but then because it's just me, then I wouldn't cry if there was not such an emotion or story or
Andre,
whatever.
Andre, get out of your head and look at Helen.
As you cry for Helen, look at the tentacles that are down underneath that for yourself. Allow yourself to cry for Helen, but recognize it's really for you. Look at her. Look, open your eyes and look at her.
I also am crying for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can't feel like that sometimes. Like he's doing, I can't worry for myself, or I can only do it for the people. So I understand.
Is maybe the takeaway for Andre, the mechanism of deflection. It seems like when Andre, you were looking at Yvonne, that was pure deflection. And you were really talking about yourself. But then when James and Helen spoke, that brought you to your own, you were then involved in the conversation at that point, whereas you weren't when you looked at Yvonne. So once you were involved, you recognize that you are looking at yourself. And then you divert into these endless loops of analysis of your thinking and feeling, but it keeps you on the surface.
Does that ring true for you, Andre?
It's helpful to hear this. And quite honest, I kind of detest hearing this because I think I built something which seemed like a nice bulletproof
Yep.
Image of the problem is I don't know what is real right now. Oh shit, because if I create if this emotional or if this compassionate simulation, well, I don't know.
You're going again into trying to figure out what would it feel like giving up, trying to figure it out.
I think it pretty much like what Vince said last time. Is just a deflated doll. It's just if you take it away from me, then there's just nothing left. If
Is
there's,
this, would you rather have this right now? Endless loops of trying to figure out? Are you feeling comfortable with this?
well, it feels real because it's intense. Then it feels
Familiar?
yeah, familiar. Yes. And also the one of the benefits of this is the mind is not so much turned on as I mean, I don't know. With you guys, maybe I'm just, maybe it's another bullshit. But it's I I so on one side there's mind and analysis. On the other side, there's just emotions and feelings and I label this as I label tears, I label intense emotions inside as real, and analysis as and ideas and thoughts as unreal.
What you're doing now?
I don't know. I don't know. Like I wish it. I'm looking for I don't know. I'm lost and
Do you see though what David's saying? Yeah, what you just did was where you're describing what's going on for you as a way of not feeling what's going on for you.
what I am feeling like what I'm becoming there's this sort of anger response because I sort of play along, but also I don't want to play along. Like, are you serious? Like, do you think that what is happening to me right now is just another layer of bullshit? And it is so
What I don't think what you're feeling right now is a layer of bullshit, but I think what you're doing is a layer of bullshit.
And everyone does some of this.
Of course. It's not unique to you. That's right.
So you said you were feeling lost.
yeah.
Maybe try that out for a while. Maybe that's where you need to settle. Maybe your mind is not going to figure it out and get you. It's not going to keep you safe forever. It's not going to let you stay and continue doing what you're doing. Sooner or later, the energy is going to go out of it.
The moment you engage the mind, you're escaping what's going on. It seems like the mind is so seductive. It seems very logical for you to describe what's going on. But the moment you start describing it, you're getting away from what is actually going on. And look, at another level, if we just take a step back and look at the whole thing, none of it's wrong. None of that's not a case of doing something right. Right? It's just a case of recognizing what is actually.
Well, the problem is, other than I don't know, I grow a little impatient and angry because I don't know what to
do. Yeah,
do. Yeah, what to do with it, about it, with
exactly,
it, in it.
exactly. Okay, so this is the point. There is nothing to do. The moment you try and do anything, you're in trouble.
You're just putting that pacifier back in your mouth.
Yeah, that's one way to put it. And that's a good way. Yeah. And in this case, it's what comes out of the mouth is the pacifier in the mouth. So you're helpless. That's right. I love that. I love that. You're helpless. Nothing you can do.
and nothing to hold on to. It's like, it's just,
Yes, yeah. Does that evoke any fear in you? Nothing to hold on to? Is it fear or anger? Anger is a great escape. That's a brilliant way to escape anger because it's aggressive, it's outward going, you know. But
no, it basically feels right now, it feels like I go on a stage, and I'm a magician or illusionist, whatever. And I do something for you, and you're like, and you deconstruct it, and you say, this is baloney, this is phony, blah blah blah. And then I run out of my tools, and then I stand there with like, I don't have an act, right? I don't have like I think it's a stage. I think you all came for this performance or whatever, and or you just happen to be there, and I come out and I have nothing to like.
Yep. We're going to boo you no matter what you say.
You're gonna what?
Boo up on the stage. Boo.
Oh, boo. Yeah. And I
Well, you're doing it again, you know that, don't you? Well, you don't know that. Can you see it?
no, I'm no. Oh. No, but I was trying to maybe, but I was trying to describe that I'm here on the stage, the box is empty, I've shown you all the tools, and you boo 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 boo.
Yeah.
But I'm still on the stage. Like, should I stay on the stage? Should I just go
Absolutely.
away?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's all clinging to concepts.
what if I stay on the stage and you guys are looking at me? Why the fuck are you looking at me? Like, what do you want from me? Like, I don't have anything, like nothing.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what we're trying to tell you.
You do have something. You've got to do. You deliver. Come on, you've got to entertain us. Do it. But no matter what you start doing, we're going to go boo, boo. That's not it. It's a hopeless case, isn't it? Absolutely hopeless.
It is.
So as you feel that hopelessness, recognize that in itself is an escape. Even the hopelessness, I can't do anything. No matter what I do, it's not it. So I can't do anything. And that's another one. What was that? Did you suppress a sneeze or something?
No, I cough. I suppressed the cough because I thought if I cough too loud, then some people will find it disturbing.
Yeah, we'll boo you again. Boo.
Oh, this guy, yeah, he doesn't know how to cough in online
Yeah, you can't
conferences.
even cough right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he cannot do it.
Yeah.
No, it's no.
Andre, there's a great resource here for you. And I would encourage you to go back and just watch what has been happening for the last 20 minutes. Just watch yourself and really be really honest about what's going on with the character called Andre and what Andre is expecting from Andre.
And I don't know if Alan meant it this way, but it would be brilliant for you to rewatch this video, to watch this part of the video and watch yourself, watch your facial expressions and excuse me, look for escape mechanisms.
That's exactly what I'm meaning, Vince. Yeah, you're spot on. Yeah. Now, this will require radical honesty to do that, but it is a gift waiting for you if you do that.
I kept thinking of the word authenticity,
Absolutely.
and I know you felt, I know you believed that you were being authentic, but authenticity comes from a deeper level than that. So
And when
even the tears weren't authentic. They were kind of authentic, but they weren't.
The fuck, really?
Yeah. Well, but this is my opinion. This is my story, and it may be totally wrong. But you watch the video back and watch yourself and ask yourself, where's the authenticity?
and what will the escape mechanisms look like when you rewatch the video? What are you looking for? What does the deflection look like?
These questions for the after or for now?
Or after?
After.
Well, I mean, just so you're clear on what the deflection, what you will see in the video. When you're deflecting, what does that look like? So you're clear on the mechanism.
In my mind, every time you started talking, you were doing that deflecting. So, and it seemed like you got a bit more authentic when you were talking about what you were feeling, but it was still deflecting. It was still avoiding. And it's
And
not,
the tears are also a way to deflect.
yeah,
So
sure. Yeah. Because you're crying
So
for you're crying for other people on the surface, but you're really crying for yourself. But yeah. Anyway,
so
it's all just a story. But you have a look and see what you say. And none of it's wrong. Don't get the idea that any of it is wrong. Right? What you're doing is what you're doing is what you're doing, and it's all okay. The value is in recognizing, right? And you don't have to turn yourself inside out and bare your soul, so to speak, in order to get value out of that. The value is in recognizing what your spontaneous behavior was, the habits that you've developed as a way of keeping out of touch with the pain. If it is pain, it probably is, but that's all just my story again. Yeah.
None of it is unique. The only reason I see it so clearly is because I've done so much of it. It's
Yeah.
exactly where I'm coming from.
Wow, you could go around everybody here and ask everyone here, and I'll guarantee you 85% of people here would go, yeah, I know exactly, because it's in me too.
Mm. So
It's like that, isn't it? No matter what you say, it's good.
no, I was just because I feel like I have been, I can't think of a word, like disclose, not disclose the
Yeah.
I was
Feel like you're being
recognized for,
authentic.
yeah, like I was trying to disguise and I just feel like, oh, okay, I feel exposed. Yeah.
Well,
And I feel
that's good. That's good. Because
and
what's exposed? What are you defending? What would need defending? What would need to be not exposed? That's the real, that's where the juice is. Not how you're doing it, not what you're doing, but yeah. What we're talking about here altogether, in one way, one perspective of it is we're talking about identification. We're talking
yeah,
about the way Andre sees Andre.
yeah, but I feel like you're looking at me as if I am, oh, okay, this guy's phony. This guy's not like this.
Well, we
You
are.
are.
Like,
That's true. That's a pretty good observation. Yeah, you're a phony.
We're all phony.
That's true too. And there's
Why
nothing
do we
wrong,
have names?
nothing wrong with being
Why-
funny if we recognize it. That's what we were looking for, to recognize the phoniness. I know, but at the same time, I do know, and I do recognize for you. Here's a little lolly, a little sweet for you, that that you felt authentic. You thought you were being authentic. You thought you were being real. That's what you wanted from the group. You wanted us to be real, and you thought you
Yeah,
were being real.
I wasn't.
When you see how phony you are, you will feel much better. It'll be a release. There's freedom in recognizing it's all phony.
That's beautiful, David.
This is
There's a
disturbing news.
line from Jim Newman, Andre, that I don't know if it'll help you, but it helped me because I get lost in my head, yeah? And I want to work it out and think what it is. And oh, yeah, there's the neuroscience says this, and psychology says that, and philosophy's got this to say. And Jim Newman says, every time you start to think about going, oh, no, that's not it. Every time, and you start to go, oh, but what? No, that's not it. Every single time you go in your head and start to go, oh, yeah, but it's no. Every single time. And see where that takes you.
Yep. That's coming from a genuine phony.
Thank you. That was genuine, thank you, or
yeah,
it was phony. Yeah.
it was yeah. I was laughing at my my internal response to the thank you. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Come back next week and tell us what you find.
Okay.
And hold
you.
us to account for being phony. All right, what phony wants to go next?
Can I just say that when you talked about me not being real, about a week ago, I was thinking to myself, I'm not really real. I'm not down to real me. Not real me, but yeah, there's something not real about me. So I mean that, I don't know. So there was something in that.
You hit the nail on the head, eh?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Yeah. So what's an underlying thing here is our intuition, right? We need to trust our intuition, not to trust that it's absolutely right in any absolute sense, but to trust that what our intuition is telling us has some validity.
Yeah. But also, I did notice I had this to defend, to say what I've been through. And, you
Yes.
know, my son's been a drug addict and I've been through hell and, you know, and fuck it, you know, I'm prepared to be opened up and reveal whatever it is, you know. But then I thought, oh, but here I am saying that. I also want to say, James, I'm sorry, when you said you sat on your daughter in the bath, I laughed, but I know it wasn't funny. I've grabbed by my youngest son to get him to school when no one was looking. His hair stood up a bit. And I grabbed his hair with my hand to take him through the ginnel. And then as soon as I got him through the ginnel, I grabbed his hand. I didn't want anyone to see it. I was actually getting him out to school that way. Anyway. I suppose that's some kind of defense and being, I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good indicator that we are identifying. Another term that's a good term is we're selfing. right? The moment we feel defense, if somebody accuses us or confronts us with something and we feel the need to defend, we're selfing. We're full on into identification.
Yeah.
And that's not that that's wrong. It's just needs to be recognized because it's a waste of energy. Yeah.
Well, any label. I mean, and so for Andre, you know, the label phoniness, it's just a label. It's a thought. It's what's underneath. It's what's that particular projection that's making itself visible at that particular moment is waiting in a way to be owned and then let go of. And so I think being with, and what does it feel like, for example, to be phony or to be stupid? Can you find that in you? Because it's just a label, and a label doesn't go anywhere or do anything or apply to anything.
No.
How are you responding to this, Ben, where you came in the middle of some pretty heavy duty stuff with Andre there? What did you think of that?
What did I think of it? I don't know. I don't know what I thought of it, really. I did have a response, and I felt a bit sorry that he was struggling so much. Yeah, and there was actually also a feeling I felt like I'd walked into some kind of encounter group, you know, where people kind of gang up on somebody and give them a really hard time. There's a bit of that.
It was pretty accurate, I imagine. Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of encounter groups in my time, and I guess some of it hangs over. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I and like an encounter group, I imagined that Andre was a willing participant in that.
Yeah, I imagine so too. Although I had my doubts at one point.
We won't even bother asking him if he was willing. It's too late for that. Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
Because in a way, that's what we're all looking for. We're all looking for our own authenticity. We're looking for, yeah.
Yeah, last time I was here was, I think it was in early December, perhaps. And I was talking about self-doubt, I think. Anyway, Alan gave me some good pointers around the feelings underlying thoughts and emotions, and to, you know, spend more time in the senses and feeling the feeling before the thought, something along those lines. You know, trying to go back a stage rather than leap into the thought. Go back to see what the trigger was, the sensation in the body. And I've been doing some of that, but I also had, I've been away, and I had a whole month where I pretty much left this whole thing and didn't even look at it, didn't do anything at all. Which is quite unusual because I have been spending quite a lot of time on it, and yeah, I don't know whether that did me any good or not. But I still have quite a lot of doubt, going on. So I feel like I need to, I mean, there is a thought anyway that I'm kind of drifting and I need to be a bit more disciplined and more structured about what I'm doing.
Yeah. That's a good way not to get it. Would you say your doubt is, well, I want the first word, the first thing that comes to mind in answer to this question. Would you say that your doubt is more intellectual or more emotional?
There's emotional.
Mm.
And I transfer it into intellectual.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
if I could just understand this aspect or that aspect, then
Mm.
that'd be great. But actually underneath it is a sense of kind of low sense of my own ability, low self-confidence, you could say, you know,
Mhm.
that I don't feel that or that I feel that I'm somehow not stable enough. I don't have the emotional stability, which sounds like a really strange thing to say because most people would refer to me as being very stable.
Mm.
But underneath it, there is still some.
So if you were to, and this is just a fantasy story we're going to go into here, if you were to go underneath that emotional stability thing, is there fear?
Underneath it.
Mm.
I mean, my immediate response to that was there is fear, but the fear is kind of on top of it rather than underneath it.
Okay.
It feels like it's a kind of a.
Okay, so then the
fear,
next question would be, and again, the first thing that comes to mind, fear of what?
Fear of annihilation, abandonment, and dysfunction.
Yep, absolutely.
So my thing is that I'm not able to function effectively in the world. I have to try really hard to fake it that I can. And
say that one again to this for
fake it.
Benefit, to fake it.
I have to try really hard to fake it.
To fake it.
Yeah. Fake.
You hear that, Andre?
Fake the impression.
Yeah. Yep.
Of being able to, you know, to cope and survive and, you know, do all the stuff I need to do.
To operate. Yeah.
Yeah. And
so
the fear underneath that is
come back. Then the annihilation of what? Obviously, you're not talking about your physical body, are you? What could be annihilated if you were to get into that?
It's like more like an abandonment thing.
Yes.
I won't be supported or
on your own.
Yeah. I'll be on my own, which I am anyway. So it's a bit of a nonsensical thing, you know, to think or feel.
Well, of course, these things are almost always nonsensical once we look at them in detail, but yeah, for sure. Okay.
Yeah. So there's two things. One is that there's two aspects to that. So one is that I don't have that emotional resource to do this. And the other is that if I do this and I have like a transition or something into some other kind of mode of being, you know, awakening, whatever you want to call it, then I will be rendered more dysfunctional. My faking it will be exposed. And I won't be able to fake it because I'll be more authentically unable to do stuff.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah,
So I won't do anything, and I'll go live under a bridge or whatever,
Yeah. So what if I say to you, just like, the old saying about you learn to ride a bicycle and no matter how long since you've ridden one, you'll still know how to ride a bicycle, that you'll still be able to fake it. No matter what's actually going on, you'll still be able to fake it. That you don't lose that. What you lose is the belief that that is real. And you
Right.
kind of already know that it's not real, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also, and I've heard people say this, that they lose motivation to do things.
Yeah.
And if I lose motivation, and also, then I won't be able to fake it.
You won't do
I won't be able to fake it if I don't believe in the fakery.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the life under the bridge starts to sound more closer.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. That's the thing. Yeah. I think that's kind of a core thing at the heart of my ability to generate enough intention and also to let go, it's a kind of
Yep. So
that's all
you're
compound.
still, although you've, in my mind, you've seen through the delusion of an actual self existing, and you're at the next stage, which is where the doubts are, and so on. And then I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Well, I have to say that even though you're saying that, I am doubting whether I have actually seen through that.
I know that. I can see that quite
That's
clearly.
part of it.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and people will then start to say stupid things like, "Oh, I only get it intellectually," and so on. But no, you don't. You get it more than that. But the doubts are there, and there are a couple of kinds of doubts. Now, there's intellectual doubts and there's emotional doubts, and the emotional doubts, of course, is where these fears reside, and so on. And although I can tell you that they're unfounded, that you'll still be able to operate even though you lose your doubts and you're fully confident in that there is no self running the show. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. And part of the doubt is that you're still believing in control. You're still believing in choice. You're still believing in decisions and those things. So the appropriate thing for you at this stage is to discover, not to hear words, but to discover for yourself that control, while it's believed in, is delusional, right? That in actual fact, there is only the impression of control brought on by the mind, what the mind says. And so in actual fact, in actual control, there is no, it doesn't exist. The brain, if you like, without saying makes decisions, or to say the brain will come to conclusions about things on the fly, way in front of you actually believing that you've made a decision. There is a couple of YouTube videos of somebody in an MRI machine, and the operator is asked them to move one hand or the other, and the MRI machine looking at the brain, the operator can tell which hand they're going to move before they make the decision to move their hand. The brain has already made the decision, and then the mind comes along and says, "Oh, I'm going to move my right hand," and says, like, I knew which one I was going to do. I was going to do my right hand, but the brain made the decision, and it was really stark. It was like some seconds before the actual decision came along with the mind that made. decided that it was going to be that particular hand. Yeah. But one of the exercises that I use a lot is simply to observe yourself walking around the place. And when you realize that you're not controlling your feet, you're not telling them where to go, you're not telling them how to be placed on the floor. Normally speaking, this is normal, just getting around, that all that happens totally automatically. Your body knows what to do. You don't have to think about moving your feet or moving your legs that move your feet or moving your hips that move your legs or any of that. And even the idea that you decide to go and get a drink of water, you know, or a drink, or go to the fridge, all that stuff just happens. And all you've got to do is watch it happen to realize that control is just an idea that turns up after the act. Yeah. My suggestion is that you focus on that for a little while, and use, you know, have a list of words: control, decisions, choices, responsibility. These all kind of come together. They're all part of the same thing. Yeah.
I tell you, I have done some of that. Thanks. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'll go back to it. One of the things that, and I guess it's a doubt that a lot of people have, but it's because I've made quite a lot of poor decisions in the past. I'm concerned that, or I believe that there is something about being anxious about decision making and doing things that prevents me from making bad decisions. Right. So if I was to let my guard down, so to speak, then I could quite easily, you know, start to do the things that I've done in the past, which haven't been useful.
Right. Yeah. And you don't
only because I've built up this.
You don't think you've learned from those experiences?
Yeah, that is a thing that I do think about, is that I have learned from them and I won't do them again.
Yep.
And also I'm pretty sure that I've cleared up quite a lot of the trauma that kind of, you know, caused me to make those kind of decisions. So yeah, maybe I'm just hanging on to a bit of that, or maybe I'm just bringing that story in to justify, you know, my reservations about.
Yeah, sure.
Forward, yeah.
And part of this that's you've expressed but not focused on is that the identification with the stories that underneath, outside of the public eye, that Ben doesn't have a big self-esteem, a strong self-esteem or self-confidence or whatever. But you're identifying with that story. Now, who's to say it's right or wrong or whatever? It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. But you are identifying with that story. Yeah.
But then wouldn't you say that some stories are useful? I mean, if you were to disidentify with everything.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've very recently, in fact, as close as yesterday and today, I've had this thing that, and I always used to use as an example a story that says, "Don't walk in front of the bus." That's a useful story, and I'm revising that now. I'm suddenly realised that you don't need to tell yourself don't walk in front of the bus. You'll know not to walk in front of the bus. You don't have to think about it. No thoughts required. You simply know that that's a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah,
just like you know how to avoid hitting your shins on the coffee table when you walk across the room, or so to speak, something like that. You just automatically do those things. So I wonder about useful thoughts. Yeah, maybe they're not really useful at all, or not required when we tell ourselves that they're useful. I don't know.
Yeah,
Just look and
I can
experience.
get that.
Yeah.
But there is this thing whereby, without going into a long story about history, but I had a period in my life, a developmental period when I was, young and adolescent, where I didn't learn a lot of the things that people would ordinarily learn about relating to people for various reasons. And I've learned a lot of that in later life. And I've learned it through understanding rather than interacting on the first part, although I can do most of the interacting now. And there's a kind of an intellectual efforting around understanding a lot of things like social interactions, which I imagine most people it's kind of second nature, whereas I'm kind of overthinking things and second guessing people.
There's a very shaking your head there, not second
Sorry?
nature at all. Yeah.
No,
I mean,
right, okay.
sexual interaction is
Maybe
not
that's
second
just
nature. It's not that second nature for me, and I've just talked to so many people for whom it's a fraught thing. So it's maybe it's second nature for a lot of people, but definitely not. There are lots and lots of people for whom it's not.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Right.
Love the pun there. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll concentrate on this.
It's
on that observing.
Go on.
Being the observer.
Yes. Yeah. Good one.
Things happening. Yeah.
I'm
Go on.
planning to go to a party in a few weeks, and scares the hell out of me because I won't know anybody. And I started thinking about what I've heard an analogy before from many people, that our personality is like having a movie screen and a projector, and the projector is our mind, and it projects onto the screen a story, and the story is created by the mind. It's all mind. And I realized because it's already there, and my mind is projecting it, I don't have to trust any of it. I don't have to believe any of it. And I'm hoping I can be in the present while I'm at this party and just let my present self come out and pay no attention to whatever my mind tries to tell me. Don't know if that'll work, but I'm going to try it.
Ooh. Good one. Yeah, this is probably not confidence building for you, Ben, but it's, I do attempt to be authentic. Although I had the laugh as soon as I said that, attempt to. But I find myself frequently in social situations bursting into laughter or saying something that seems totally inappropriate. And you know what? I don't care. It doesn't worry me. In fact, I find the whole thing a bit humorous. Once upon a time, I used to spend a lot of energy wanting to be liked. And so I was always worried about what came out of my mouth and how other people were perceiving me. And that's just gone. That's gone. So it's like you may well do a full circle back to, and Richard as well, back to being totally incompetent about manipulating the situation to be socially acceptable. It may well end up that you just don't give a shit. Who cares? Yeah.
I have to realize that because it's my mind, it's not true. And so why do I give it weight? It's the mind that's saying you're going to be embarrassed. Well, how does the mind know? It doesn't know that. And what if it is? What if I do get embarrassed? So what?
Absolutely. That's right. And if you see that, it can be rather humorous, you know, that they're here, look at this body's reacting in this way to this situation. How crazy is that? Yeah. Yeah. It's all discovery. Yeah.
Ben, you mentioned at the start about feeling into the sensations. Could you just talk a little bit more about how you found that?
Yeah, so it's I found myself being more, having practiced it, I feel more in tune with that now, and I find myself being aware of my body quite a lot, and the sensations in my body, but just resting my attention, so to speak. Although that's not really the right phrase. So like if I'm walking along, I will just be spontaneously noting or noticing the sensations and things in my body. And if I'm quite often, if I'm just not doing anything, then there'll be a little bit of quietness, and then I will feel a sensation somewhere and then notice thoughts coming up in response to the sensation. And sometimes if I find myself being engrossed in thought for a moment, I can sometimes trace that back to a sensation, usually in my abdomen, you know, where there's a sense of constriction or something like that.
Okay.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you respond to that noticing when you see that? If you just say the stomach, what is your response to that?
It's usually just a kind of a fleeting thing, but once I put my attention in the sensation, the kind of weight of the attention, if you like, in the thought, the mind is lessened, or it's just dissolves, if you like. It's almost like there's no more energy for the attention to be in the thought, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And that's something to really take notice of, that whole experience of the thought lessening when you go into the sensation. There's something there that seems so simplistic, but it's so real. In fact, recently I've been made aware that sometimes people have a dramatic awakening, for want of a better word. They have total disorientation, and if they haven't had any exposure to teachings, non-duality or spiritual teachings, it can be very, very well, disorienting, I think is the word. And without exception, each of them have said the thing that got them through was being willing to feel into whatever emotion was arising, the sensation, not only willing to feel into it, but seeking to find the core of it, just staying with that. And that was the thing that really just brought a clarity that they said is absolutely essential. And I proved that myself in terms of sensation. It's the thing that, you know, Vince, I remember when I first joined, Vince was talking about this decoupling of the thought and the sensation. And when we look closely, the thought always follows the sensation. And feeling into that core is just so critical.
Yeah, I've definitely tasted that. Yeah, and thanks. That's good. Good pointing. If I find myself in that situation where I'm overwhelmed or something by what's going on in terms of, you know, disorientated.
Yes.
Yeah, to go back to the sensation. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you did mention that sometimes you feel you don't have the emotional resource, if I pick that up. And actually, when we're prepared to actually open ourselves totally to the sensation, it doesn't actually require an emotional resource. It's just an openness, just the noticing. The mind will
Right.
tell us it does. The mind will tell us it does. But actually, in the willingness to open, we find that that's all that's required.
Right.
I want
Great.
to add something
Thanks.
that's something that's helped me tremendously in, I guess, separating thought from sensation. I learned this from Scott Killaby. When I notice what the thought is, I imagine it projected in front of me, sometimes like on a billboard or in a picture frame. And then it is easier, more natural to see it as empty, markings on a surface. It really helps me tremendously. Otherwise, for me, if I just try to feel into the sensation, the thoughts are still there, and they're still kind of, I don't know, glued on, I guess, to the sensation. And
Yeah, that's
just
a good one that Paul comes up with. Put it up onto the blackboard and then ask yourself, can that thought think? Can that thought do anything when it's up there on the blackboard? It's just
Yeah.
words. Yeah, just nothing. Yeah.
So tell us a bit more about that, Terry. You see it up on the screen, so to speak, the billboard or the whiteboard. That allows you to sink into the sensation a little more authentically. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, more purely. And I do have to repeat this over and over. I would say like once every second too.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, it feels a bit tedious sometimes, but it also feels necessary. I spent many years trying to feel into sensation without using this technique, and I mean, I made a lot of progress that way, but then I kind of hit a wall with certain emotions that seemed very thick and sticky. So, I mean, sometimes I actually open a Word document on my laptop with a very large font, and I'll type in the words, I'm too fat, I'm disgusting, I don't like this. And each time I type it in, it's like I've let go of it for a moment. And then once I type in like 7 or 8 different sentences, they start repeating themselves. Usually it's just those same, few sentences for any given emotion. And then I don't have to type it. I just look at it and I'm like, oh yeah. And I've also actually used, for some emotion, I find that images are better than words on the screen. So sometimes an emotion comes up and the thought is, I want to beat that person up. Like I want to kill them. So I found like a little GIF of a woman going like this. And I put that up on my screen. And then when that thought comes up, I just look at her, and then I can let go of the actual idea of killing somebody and just stay with the sensation behind it. Yeah, and I did get that from Scott Killaby's book that he published years and years ago, but he still teaches this technique. He still teaches it.
And recognizing what you call the tedium there, it does get tedious and it's sticky and it's messy. I think that's something we don't perhaps highlight, that's part of it, and just to stay with that basic intention is so important. And even though it doesn't feel clean as such in terms of the feeling and the sensation, that intention in itself is can just take us through.
Yeah. There's a if you open a browser and type in BARD, B-A-R-D, it's an artificial intelligent search engine thing. You can use that to find pictures that can do that. Some artificial intelligence, you can tell it to create a picture, Yeah. And you'll go, oh no, it's not quite like that. It's more like, you know, and if you keep on relating to what you're feeling as you're looking for those pictures, yeah, you root it out completely. Yeah, love it. That's great. Good technique.
Interesting idea. I'll have to try that.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you traveling, David? Wilcock?
Yeah, yeah, close enough. I've been working with oh, before I do that, let me ask you a question. What determines what picture, who comes on the screen? If I pick up a cup of tea, does that mean that I'm going to appear here?
So I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
Well, yeah, what determines
what
that
you're
you're
asking.
now on the screen? You're the main picture.
It's the
Oh, you're
person
only
who's
seeing
speaking.
one picture at a time, are
Right
you?
there.
The person that's talking. Okay. If you scroll right or left or what, depending on what you're on, you can get what's called gallery view, and then you'll see everybody.
Okay. But I see you on the screen right now, and then I see Alan when Alan is talking.
Yeah, whoever's
What is
talking.
it?
Yeah, that's just
Whoever's talking.
yeah. Let me try and find where that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the
Are you
same.
on,
So I can't see anybody's face except whoever's
are you on a
talking.
computer, David?
Yes, I am.
All right, up in the upper right-hand corner, do you of the black screen, do you see something called view?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, press on that, and then you probably checked by speaker. Press on gallery, see what happens.
Yeah. And even on the phone, you just scroll right or left to get to that. Scroll the whole
Yeah.
screen across.
Did
Oh,
you see it? You see it, David?
yeah,
Yeah,
I can see.
I see
I
it.
see
Yeah.
6
But
people.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Well, my question is, if I pick up a cup of tea while somebody else is talking, is the screen going to change to me?
Only if you make a
Only if you're unmuted and your microphone picks it up, because then it'll pick you up as the speaker if you're on speaker only.
Got it.
When you're
Thank
unmuted
you.
and make noise, it goes over to you.
Okay,
Just like
got
it's
it. That's
going
what I
over to
need.
me right now.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the. Okay.
16.
So
there's actually 18 people altogether now, Yvonne. So you're only seeing 1/3 of the screen. If you
Yes, yeah. And I scroll up. I scroll up, and I can see more people. Yes, wonderful. How wonderful to see you all.
Good.
Yes. So is this group connected with Liberation Unleashed?
Kind of. Yeah. It's not really part of Liberation Unleashed, but a lot of people here come out of that, and a lot of the guides here are guiding at Liberation Unleashed.
Right, and I worked with somebody for I don't know, a number of weeks, and she referred me here, so I've been coming here. I really don't, I'm not very good at figuring out things online, so I'm not sure the connections between this and Liberation Unleashed. But I've been reading the book, and that's more or less what I've been following. And recently I've been working on the chapter on the 7 steps, and excuse me. I'm, how do I say, I can switch back and forth between it is I am seeing and seeing is going on. I can do that with hearing. I can do that with the I can do it with just with all of the senses. So recently I was it was like yesterday, I woke up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I was just sort of experiencing it, and I realized that what's going on is seeing. It's not the seen.
Very good.
Yeah, so I had a moment of just that there's nothing there. There's nothing at all. There's just awareness.
Right. Yeah. Not even awareness is there. Just there is being aware if you need to describe something.
Right.
But it's only a logical conclusion that would say it is something called awareness that is doing it.
Right. And that's because I'm talking with you about it. But in the experience itself, there's just, I don't know whatever you call it. There's
That's brilliant.
I'm there wherever there is.
Yes, absolutely. And I use I don't know if you were here, but Alan made a reference to the cup exercise that I use, and
Yes.
and that is to help people to discover that when there is seeing, there is only seeing. And if you ask yourself who is seeing or what is being seen, the seeing stops, because you jump into the mind for those things, because they only exist in the mind. The seer and the seen only exists in the mind. The only actual thing, the reality, the real, the what is actual is the experience of seeing.
Yes.
Yeah. It's easier to do with hearing
and
than
that's,
it is with seeing, but yes, yeah.
and it's almost as if the seeing and the hearing is a conduit through which something is, I don't know, becomes aware. Language is so difficult.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And the moment we engage language to try and describe it, we lose the experience of it. We're into
Yes.
something else altogether. Yeah.
Yes. And if we think about it, and it's almost as if being aware of it in the moment changes it from something what it is into something else.
Yeah. Well, the normal thing, the usual thing at most levels is that we label things. So we see something, we label it, and then we start relating to the idea we've got about it rather than to the actual thing. So when we do this exercise, we avoid the labeling, and we are in the direct experiencing.
Yes. Okay, so I could also the idea of there being a me as being an idea. It's just sort of a habit that I have.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're conditioned.
I've encased everything in it.
Yes.
And it just doesn't even exist.
That's right.
I understand that it doesn't exist. And I think when I'm not thinking about me, then there is no me there.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So also, though, it's important to appreciate that what we're talking about is relative. We're not talking about absolute. Okay, so what anybody that's going to come along and argue with you and say, of course you exist, they're talking about an absolute, although they may be lost in delusion as well. But beside the point, there's a difference between the absolute is unknowable. We have no idea what's actually there, because what you see as your hand, and an insect is going to see in the infrared spectrum or the ultraviolet spectrum or whatever, and it's going to be totally different experience for them, right? So all we're talking about is relative to your perception. So what's real for your perception is that.
What do you mean perception?
Yeah.
What do you mean perception?
Well, the input to your senses.
Right. And that to me is what awareness is, which is it seems to me awareness is there, whether it's seeing, hearing, etc. There is something that is aware.
That's a
I'm
logical
sorry?
conclusion. That's a logical conclusion that you come to, that there is awareness. You're saying that it has to be there because without that, right? But well, I can accept easily when you say there is being aware. Okay, that's a verb, that's an action.
Yeah.
But when you say there is a thing called awareness, you know, you might as well be talking about God or religion. There might or might not be, but I have no idea if it's true. I've got no idea about that. I don't know.
Yes, yes, yes. So what is it? What is that thing that what I call awareness, which is, well, it's not attention. But attention goes to hearing, attention goes to seeing. But there's the background of just I'm there. There is there-ness there.
Well, you're writing a story about it.
I'm writing a story about it and trying to describe it to you, but that doesn't. Is it a story that I think awareness that's going on now?
Yeah.
That's going that I don't know.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
Well, you think you are. Yeah.
Again,
are you talking about the absolute or are you talking about the relative?
Yes.
You're talking about the absolute.
I mean,
the
absolute, yes.
It's a mystery to me. I don't know about it. I can tell you about my perception of what it appears to be, but I can't tell you what it actually is. And when you say there is awareness or I am here, you're trying to tell me what actually is.
I'm trying to tell you what my experience is, which is there is something there.
No, that's not your experience. Your experience is a sensation. Your experience are thoughts, not the content of thoughts, but the having of thoughts.
What's aware of the content of the thought? What's aware
Well, that's you're asking me to come to a logical conclusion. I can't come to a conclusion about that because I don't know about it. What's aware of? I have no idea about what's aware of. Is God real?
That's not what I'm talking about.
But it's the
I'm
same
talking
thing.
about
It's the same thing.
What experiences?
No, you're not.
What experience is seeing? No,
You're
that's
talking
not
about
right. No.
experience. You're talking about what you think about experience. Help me, somebody help me, please.
David, I think what you're describing, the problem is, and this arises in a lot of groups, is which field of science are you looking at for your definition of awareness? The field of medicine looks at it one way, philosophy looks at it another way, non-duality. What you seem to be describing is the senses are operating. Okay, seeing is happening, but seeing doesn't know what it's seeing. Seeing doesn't know anything. Hearing doesn't know anything. Tasting doesn't know anything. You have been given a conceptual picture of the world. And what Vince is saying is we can't know that our picture of the world that we've been given is real in the absolute sense. What he's saying in the relative sense, for you, the relative sense is whatever your world has been created by your family and society. When you say you are aware, you are seeing things that have labels on them that are familiar to you. You are hearing sounds that are familiar to you. You are aware of this conceptual world that has been created. Now, nobody here can comment on what you're seeing or hearing, whether it's real. You may have a completely different world from us, but what he's pointing to relative to you is your senses are operating and there are identifications of what seems to be a world. That's just the stripped down version of awareness that I give in non-duality. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying. Yes.
Now, when you start generating anything other than that, in other words, when you say window, that's the stripped down version of awareness. There is seeing of patterns and shapes, and there's a window. Now, when you start spinning tails, and this is something else he's pointing to, when you say, I really like that window, you're wandering off into stories that are outside of really just pure perception. Because saying that's a window is happening right now in this moment. When you start saying, well, that's a nice window, but I saw some windows the other day that would look better there, then you're really getting out of pure awareness and wandering off into storyland. Do you see?
Right. Right. I do. Yes.
That's what we always try to point to in here, but it's difficult to do. Is there's pure knowing, as I call it, which is seeing and identifying objects and hearing and identifying objects, and then the stories that seem to flow right
Yes.
into it about those objects. It's a
Yes.
fine line, and it takes some work to be able to tell when you've drifted from one to the other. You following me?
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes, I am. Yes.
So what you had was what you
what I-
had was like pure awareness without a bunch of thought stories about it coming up,
Yes.
is what I'm guessing.
Yes. So if I look at this wall over here, I can see that I'm seeing, but then I also know that all that is just that's just the seeing, and the wall doesn't exist. Well, I don't know that.
Well, it exists
the
as
wall
a story.
doesn't-
It's something you've been told. You've been told those patterns and shapes are a wall. Now, what that, and you can say we all objectively agree on what a wall is, and that's another story. But you have identified what the object of seeing is. That's just it. The point, and what we point to in here, is there doesn't need to be a you for seeing to occur. There's just the wall. In other words, seeing, wall, same thing. And there's really no you in there. It's just seeing happening.
Yes, just seeing is happening, and so there's nothing there except what are in the sense. Oh, I don't know. This is impossible. This is nothing there.
There's a
except
label there.
what
There's a label. That's it.
Yes, I
There's
understand.
a label.
But there's
There's
seeing
colors and
going
shapes
on.
and a label. Yeah.
But there's
Seeing is
seeing
just the
going on.
sense. Seeing
Yes.
is the input. Seeing is the
Yes.
input, and supposedly what is being seen is you're not actually seeing a wall. You're seeing a label
Right.
over some colors and shapes and patterns.
Colors. Right.
That's the conceptual world. And what
Right.
Vince is saying is we can't really know what all this is, but relatively we can all say, well, that's a wall. You know, we all accept this shared reality for whatever it's worth.
I know that. Yeah, I understand that.
And the trap for you, David, it appears to me, the trap is where you then jump into logic to say, therefore, there must be some background called awareness. It's that word therefore that says it's a logical conclusion that you're coming to. It's not not a reflection of your experience.
My experience is that I am seeing. No, I'm sorry.
No, no, your
said, no,
experience is
seeing is
seeing.
going.
Yeah.
Seeing is going on.
Yes.
Seeing is going on. Yes.
Yeah. So that I am is also a logical conclusion.
And I understand that is sort of, if you pardon the pun, out of the picture.
Yeah.
Illusion.
Yeah. And it's and I just wanted to point out that to say that there is nothing there isn't accurate either. When you're saying that wall doesn't exist, it's the label wall is what we've learned, and that's an overlay. But even you say you can come back to say, well, it's colors and shapes, but even those are labels.
Right.
If you get beneath them, there is just that pure act of seeing, and it can't be described or it can't be communicated without getting out of that act of seeing.
Right. The act of seeing, yes.
Hmm.
Uh.
It
So
is,
I think it was a
yeah.
guy named Don Hoffman has been talking about the basis of reality is consciousness. It's not matter, it's consciousness.
Yeah, well, that's not true either. That's another conclusion.
Yes.
But
Okay.
it's a stepping stone, you know, like, yeah, we can use that to temporarily say, well, that's how I can understand things. Right. We can't know about consciousness. How can you know about, that's like same as knowing about God. You can only get there with something called faith or something like that.
It's another identity too. It's
Yeah.
another form of identification. You're saying there's only consciousness. Well, I must be conscious. Well, there you go, identifying again. You know,
Yeah.
you're caught in a bigger trap.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's tricky stuff, and it's very fundamental, but it's also very, very profound. It's like it's not like we're going to stop seeing the wall as a wall, but
Right.
we're going to recognize that we're calling it a wall for convenience sake, to communicate it or to describe it.
David, you're a musician, aren't you?
Yes. Former. Yes.
Former. When you hear music, like when I hear music, yeah, I know they're notes, yeah, but I hear the sound and I'll hear a song and I enjoy the song. But I'm sure you hear F majors and G sharps and whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
Which of those is true? Your labels or me just saying that was God Save the Queen being played? That all gets laid on somewhere. Now, I'm not sure what the layers are and what the levels are, but you've got a whole different layer of understanding or awareness or whatever word we're using of music. Yeah, you'll hear far more detail, far more, as I say, you'll put more labels on it. But like you say, it's just hearing happening. And that's the same with the wall.
I'm experiencing sound.
Yes, but you've got so much experience, you add loads of thought to that, yeah?
Yes.
And my understanding is, and I've not achieved this, but my understanding is when I look at a wall, I'm thinking, oh, that's a wall. But it's not, it's just that experience or what's going on at that moment.
It's the experience of color.
Could be the experience of color, but I mean, I come from a physics and maths background. Color is just vibration and radiation. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a whole nother level that I lay on that. You see what I mean? These are all layers. And I don't know where these guys are at, Vince, Paul, whatever, what they see or hear or experience. But all I know is that I keep adding labels on. If I'm just trying to strip the labels away. And if there's a wall there, there's a wall there after that. But I just hope the music metaphor was good for you.
I understand what you're saying, and I also understand what Paul is saying. What I'm saying is, I don't think anything exists. I don't know.
Okay.
Nothing does in the absolute, but I mean,
certain
here you
level,
are
yeah.
in the relative. You're here in the relative, or if nothing exists, who are you talking to?
I understand. Yeah, I know.
So here's an exercise that I use with people when I'm guiding. I say to them, if a tree falls in the forest and there's no one there, is there a sound? And the obvious answer is no, there's no sound. What there is air vibrating, right? It takes an ear to interact with the vibrating of the air. And guess what? That air produces a nerve signal. And in a convoluted way, that nerve signal travels up to the brain, and the brain interprets a nerve signal, right? It's kind of like electricity, I suppose. The brain interprets it in a certain way and says, oh, there's a sound. And not only that, it also says, and it comes from over there. So,
Yes.
so like that for all of our senses aren't perceived at the skin or at the nose or at the eyes or at the ears. They're all perceived in the brain. They're all created, and your perception of a sound, and this is as James was just saying, your perception of a sound is going to be quite different to my perception of a sound because of our unique histories. Right. So it's a personal interpretation of reality that we all have, all done in the brain. There's nothing absolute about that. That's our brain doing it.
So there's a plane going overhead landing. I can hear the plane. I can hear the sound. If I can also separate out and experience it just as sound.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with seeing.
Yes. With all the senses. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, with all of the senses. And so it's like, I don't know, there's nothing there. There's nothing there except the awareness.
David, you know, you were talking about Donald Hoffman. Oh, go on, Vince.
Yeah. I was just going to use another example. You're in England, are you?
No, United States.
Oh,
New
United
York.
States. All right, good one, the United States. The Statue of Liberty, does that exist for you right now?
Nope.
No, it's just an idea, isn't it?
Yes.
Because you're not actually experiencing it.
That's right.
Right. So in the relative sense, it doesn't exist for you right now. That's all you can say.
Right.
But for somebody who's
but
standing
your
in front of
voice
it,
does exist. But your voice does exist.
yeah, for
And
you,
it's sound.
yeah.
For me, yes, that's right. Well, for me,
Well, everybody here is
there.
going to have a different experience of that sound, aren't they?
Yes. But
So
it's there.
all relative.
Yes. Yes.
What you're saying is there's nothing that exists outside of your direct experience. Is that what you're
That's
pointing
right.
to?
That's
Right, because everything outside of your direct experience is a story about what's out there. What you have a sound of a jet going overhead, which first of all, that's a story, but let's just say that's real to you in the relative world. But the strictly speaking, all you're doing is hearing a sound, and then you put a label on it, it's a jet, and then which
Yes.
is a story, and then you put another story on it, there is a jet overhead coming in from San Francisco and landing at the airport nearby. But that
Yes.
story is a story, which is not,
Yes.
which is only a story in your direct experience. You're not
That's
outside or in the jet or seeing the jet
right.
outside. It's
Right.
and I know I'm
It's in my
muddying it up a
imagination.
little
Yes.
bit, but your direct
Yes.
experience is really sensorial experience only with the
Yes.
labels attached to what the senses are connecting with.
Yes.
Everything else is a story outside of that. You see?
Yes. Yes, I do.
So yes, nothing exists outside of the sensorium and the identification of what the sensorium is connected with. So as an example, you're sitting in a chair, but if you're thinking, I'm going to the store today, that's a story that's
Yeah.
kind of outside of direct experience. The
Yeah.
content of the story going to the story isn't happening. So when you say nothing is happening outside of your direct experience, you are technically and correct in the absolute sense, if that's what you mean.
In the absolute sense, yes.
Yeah, there's nothing outside of your experience. And technically, if you really want to
Right.
go deep in the weeds, you are alone because there's
Yes.
nothing, all of these images on the screen, you have stories that these are actual people out here and there are people talking
Yes.
to you, but your actual evidence is that there are images and sounds only.
That's right. Yes.
Depends on how deep you want to go into the weeds with this shit.
And okay, well, let's go into the weeds.
All right.
So So there isn't anything out there. You don't, you are just, you are a bunch of my senses,
Correct.
Yeah.
seeing and hearing.
Correct.
That's, the whole world doesn't exist. Nothing
Correct.
out there exists except the
Correct.
experience of hearing, the experience of seeing, feeling, touching, etc., etc.
Correct. Everything else is story.
Right.
Yes.
And
But
to
that's
go,
kind of scary. That's kind of scary for people, so we don't dwell on it around here.
Yeah,
I like to scare people though, but to go,
That's fine.
to go even deeper into the weeds here, because of your perception, because of this, you are actually creating the world that you live in. As you move through the world, you are creating it with your perception.
yes. Well, yeah, well, my perception is perceiving, but it doesn't mean that the perceived is there.
That's
It
right.
just means that I am perceiving.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, not I. Perception is going on. Seeing is going
Yeah,
on.
same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So there's nothing except
David, can I jump in with the Donald Hoffman thing?
there's nothing except the awareness of it.
You insist on that story, don't you? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's, I guess that's the issue. So
Yeah.
Awareness is just a label for pure sensorium. It's just a convenient label that describes seeing, and there is a label for the object of the seeing. And even saying there's an
yes.
object of seeing is still a label. And look at a little kid crawling around on the
Object of
floor.
seeing,
They are
yes.
sensing, but they don't know that what they're sensing, and they don't know that what they are sensing, and they don't know that they are sensing anything. It's pure sensorium without labels. But once you all grown up, you have pure sensorium with labels. That's the world.
So even that toddler crawling around the floor, right, really, really young, doesn't even know that they can't go through the wall. And as they crawl along and they bump their head in the wall, they learn something. Right? But in the beginning, they don't know that they can't go through that wall.
They know nothing.
Yeah.
I understand this. I mean, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying.
There's a but there.
There's been a but all along. So there's hearing going on, there's seeing going on.
Yep.
Isn't there something that is aware of it, that it's while it's happening?
Well, that's the same logic as to say that what you are seeing is this or that, or that there is somebody who is doing the seeing. That's just logic. It's just mental masturbation, really.
Okay, I have to play with this.
Yeah, good.
Well, what you were told when you were growing up is I, me, my, you are a location in space and time, basically, and you are the subject of a sentence. And that gives you the illusion that there is some subject in actual consciousness when there isn't. That's why language is such a trap. I, me, my really is a reference to there's something over here as opposed to something over there, which is you. So you're really more of a space-time location, convenient space-time location than an identity in any sense of the word. You
Yes.
only think you're an I because you're named I in a sentence somewhere, and that doesn't prove anything. I and you are simply references to locations in space.
Yes.
It doesn't mean there's a you there. Seeing doesn't need an identity to happen. It just happens.
It just happens.
Right.
It occurs to me, David, that the actual issue here, you're not going to come to and how can I put it?
Understanding.
Your well, anyway, the actual issue here isn't any conclusion you might come to or changing that conclusion, right? The actual issue here is that you still believe thoughts. And so you're being seduced by your thoughts into saying there must be awareness doing all of this.
Yes.
Yeah. So the issue isn't about awareness, isn't about the logic. It's about your belief in your thoughts. You give your thoughts validity that they don't deserve.
Okay.
The desire for existence, separate and apart.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Play with it.
I
Just
get.
play with it. Yeah.
No, I gotta think about this. I mean, well, you know what I mean.
You know what you just said, don't you? I saw you recognize it when you said it.
There you go.
Yeah.
I have a question for Paul. Because you use the term knowing, and I think it's a bit confusing because it's not knowing in sense of possessing knowledge.
Yes.
It's a question for Paul.
Okay, I'm listening. No, when I refer to knowing, it is what I just explained to David in the sense that seeing is happening, and there is what you would call an automatic label to the object of seeing. So, in other words, I'll say, I see a window. Well, I was taught at some time that was a window. That's of the creation of the conceptual world. So knowing is pure sensorium with an object of sensorium having a label. Pure seeing, there's no knowing. That little kid crawling around on the floor is seeing, and they're hearing. You go like that, they'll look. They don't know anything other than that. When I say knowing, it's simply that pure act of sensorium, living sensorium happening with labels attached to what is apparently seen. But it's not like I have knowledge, because there is no me to have knowledge.
But
The knowledge is inherent in the seeing, you might say.
You mean there is a knowledge of labels?
Yes, all knowledge is labels.
Learned knowledge.
The world is labels.
Yes. Okay.
So Bianca, are you talking about a sense of certainty when you're asking him about knowing?
No. I am just
The whole
trying
world
to
is
I'm trying to figure out the terminology.
The whole world is conceptual. You can't ideally or in the absolute, you don't know what's going on.
Sure.
The whole world is conceptual. It was created by whatever.
Seeing, it's the word seeing is a label itself.
Yes, but seeing without someone having told you that that is seeing, not seeing. That infant doesn't know that it is seeing. It's seeing is happening, but we're projecting that on the infant. The infant isn't saying I'm seeing. He doesn't know anything. Seeing is a label, yes, but it's a description of a sensorium in a biological instrument. Yes, it's a label. The whole world is a label. It doesn't matter what you pick. It's a label. You can't absolutely know what is here. The whole world is conceptual. The Hindus have been saying that for 4,000 years. It's all conceptual.
Yes, I agree.
So seeing can only be seeing if there is an object of seeing. really, because otherwise seeing doesn't exist without the object. They have to be the same thing. So in other words, you have to have the label for seeing to even happen. The infant
Yes.
does have no
Yes.
label, so seeing is not happening for the infant. But you say seeing because there's an object of seeing. And so seeing and the object are actually the same thing. You can't split them up. People will, but in experience, you have to have them both. You follow? You can't know you're seeing unless you're seeing something.
Yes, but I can see something without a label.
Well, you will. Well, what you will say if you back down off the label, you will then say, "Well, I'm seeing colors and shapes and patterns," but that's labels. Back off of that. If you don't know that those are colors, shapes, and labels, what do you know? You know nothing. Don't know you're seeing. Seeing can't happen without a knowledge of that seeing exists. And you have to have an object to know that seeing happens. That the Buddha, I mean, even the Buddhism says the seeing and the object are actually the same thing. They never separate those because you can't. There's no, if there is no, I don't know how to say it any clearer than that. If there was nothing out there, how would you know you were seeing? How would you know? And I don't mean if it's dark, or I'm
Well,
saying darkness. I mean, if
I
there's
wouldn't.
absolutely, if there's nothing out there, how would you know you were seeing?
I wouldn't.
Right. So
I
seeing
would
can't happen
see,
without the
but
object.
I wouldn't have the knowledge that I'm seeing.
Yeah. So come back to
Right.
the infant, the infant crawling around may be, from our point of view, from an external perspective, we may say that infant is responding to sensory input through the eyes. And we would
Yeah.
call that seeing. That infant knows nothing. It doesn't know that it's seeing. It's simply experiencing whatever it responds to. No, it's actual responding. It's experiencing, it's responding to whatever. It knows none of that. It just knows of its experiencing.
Yes.
No, there's no knowing involved for that infant.
Right. There's pure
But
sensorium.
but
In other
there
words,
is
something registers through
what
the ear and the brain reacts with the motor nerve reflexes. That's what's happening. No story beyond that. And that's my
but
story. That's not the infant's story.
but there is still sentience.
They don't know anything. If you have to define your term sentience before you say there is or there isn't. If you define sentience as knowledge of what's going on, an infant has no sentience. If you define sentience as pure perception, then the infant is sentient. But you have to define your terms before you throw it into the conversation. And I don't
Is
know what the
there a
definition of sentience is.
difference between an infant and a, a robot that has a camera and reacts to what the camera shows him?
Not
I don't know.
Not
but
really. Not. I mean, I'm not sure why you would want to make that distinction. But if seeing is an attribute placed on human existence, if you want to analogize it over to a robot, I mean, I guess you can. But I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. But if there is something picking up a visual field, then that's what an infant is doing. You could compare it to a robot. I'm just not sure why you would ask that question.
Yeah,
You don't have any
yeah,
thoughts
so
on
what
it.
sentience as a
Yes.
difference between
yes.
an infant and a robot.
Yes.
Sentience is what differentiates an
Yes.
infant from a robot.
I'm not sure what definition of sentience you're using
Yeah, that's a
because
tricky one. Would you say
tricky.
that an oyster has sentience, or a dog? We're more likely to say a dog has sentience than a oyster or a plant, but a plant's still going to respond to its external environment, but we don't say it has sentience, do we? So what we're trying to do here is find sentience.
Well,
Yeah. What level of consciousness are you pointing to is what Vince is pointing out very well. I mean, what level of consciousness do you say there's sentience? And if you're going to talk about consciousness, which is another confusing term, you know, a robot doesn't have consciousness, so no, they're not sentient in any sense of the word. It's just you're getting into an area it's so blurry to be functionally difficult.
Yeah,
for me,
yeah, you could almost,
consciousness has too many meanings,
yeah,
and
Yes.
it's a very confusing term.
Yeah,
So
don't use it.
I prefer sentience. And
I don't have an objection to the word but the lawyer in me says define your terms before you bring it into the conversation. Because when you say sentience, it means something different to me. It probably means something different to everybody in the room. And the basis of most arguments is that people don't have a common definition before they start the conversation. So if you want to use the word sentience, that's fine, but just give us all your definition so we're all on the same wavelengths as to whether or not it exists, you see? It's just a, you know,
we could even
even
have
if you go to
a,
the dictionary and look up sentience, they're going to give you 4 or 5 probably definitions depending on what field of science you're using it in. Medicine will define it one way, philosophy will define it another way. You know, this area of science will, so you can have multiple definitions to the same word.
So are you saying, Paul, that there is no objectless knowing?
Yes.
So then what is being aware of being aware?
Yes.
Being aware of being aware, and this is the fundamental illusion. Awareness is full of objects. And one of the objects is this character that has been built that you think you are, that's comprised mostly of this narrator of experience, this thought train. That is actually, and the Buddha said that thoughts are objects. That's actually an object. When you see through that thought train, that character involved in those in all those thoughts, that character, that action figure that you think you are, when you see that that is not your identity, what is left is just the default state of, you would call, knowing awareness. And that is knowing awareness as being the true identity, if there is such a thing as identity.
Which is
With the
objectless.
caveat that awareness is not a static identity, it is just a moving perception through time. When you disidentify with the thought character, what's left is something here. You can call it aliveness, you can call it conscious awareness or whatever. There's a realization that waking up is not realizing what you are, it's realizing what you're not. And being left with just this aliveness, whatever this is, with no identity.
So which is objectless knowing?
Well, you can't, it's like seeing can't exist without an object. No, awareness can't exist without an experience, and awareness are two sides of the same coin. It's like yin and yang. They're one thing, but they're two aspects. You say, okay, you ask me what I am. I say, well, there's just the experience happening. Okay, experience is happening. Your next question is, well, how do you know? And I would say, well, I don't know, there just seems to be an aliveness, or experience seems to be aware of itself. But you need the experience for awareness to happen, and you need awareness for the experience to happen, but they're both the same thing. They're just two sides of the same coin. You follow? Without, if there was no experience, what would there be? Awareness, it's implicit that there has something to aware of. And yes, this is duality, but this is where you start.
So you're it seems to me that you are at odds with a fundamental position of Buddhism, Hinduism, that
No.
and that because you are still you're still using experience.
Mhm.
You're saying without experience, there's nothing.
Well, I'll
So
go one step further. There's no such thing as true non-duality. There's only duality that people don't understand. And in Buddhism and Vedanta doesn't necessarily they don't all schools of thought point to non-duality. Some of them are very dualistic, and they recognize that you can call it just one thing. But let me ask you this: is experience happening?
only
And I'm
when
talking,
there's an object of experience.
okay.
Only,
How
only
do you know experience is happening?
because there's an object. Because there's an object of experience.
But how do you know there's an object of experience? There has to be two. There has to either be a knowing and an object, or the knowing is inherent in the object. You can't get away from it. If you admit there's experience, you have to admit there's knowing of it. If you admit there's knowing, the only way you can know is if there is experience to know. If you want to call it non-duality, it's two aspects of non-duality. If you want to call it duality, which is much easier, then it's subject-object, the knowing and the object.
Yes.
But you can't get away with two
Yes.
is in there somewhere if you're within human language.
Yes.
I still can't decide if you know what you're talking about.
Well,
I will have to go back and watch this later.
Yeah, I think this is a great place to finish up. We're coming up for 4.5 hours. So,
well, if you actually look at Buddhism, when you go into Buddhism or Vedanta or anything else, the first years you are taught duality. And when you have a perfect understanding of duality, is the problem that most people don't. Once you have a perfect understanding of duality, you realize the non-duality aspect of it that they're pointing to. But even the strict non-dualist will always admit, when you pin them down, that there are two aspects to reality. They'll try to escape into that story. No, it's just one. But the very fact that there's yin and yang, and the universe split up, and consciousness may be knowing of itself or playing games with itself, there's always going to be two aspects to even non-duality. And if you pin them down, they will always admit it. And duality is much easier to understand, and you don't need non-duality to alleviate suffering. Once you understand the true subject-object relationship, a lot of suffering falls away. So yeah, go get your textbook, but don't skip the first 5 chapters on duality before you skip over to the last 5 chapters on non-duality.
This is a paradox that can never be solved by the mind.
True. It's a poor tool. Language is the problem, and we're forced with using language to try to solve the problem. That's the worst paradox ever.
Yes, yes.
What a glorious mystery.
It's fun stuff, huh?
Time for Vince to use the bathroom.
It is. We've just hit 4.5 hours of recording. So there you go.
Thank you, Vince.
How did you know that, David?
Because he said it last time, his bladder doesn't, he would do it all day. He would do it all
No,
day.
Vince, we're at 3 hours. You had an hour with the guide
I
group.
did. That's right. Yeah. Okay. But still
Exceptional, Vince.
still time to go back to the real world, eh?
Thank you, Vince.
See you,
Thank you all.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you all, bye all.
Right.